I saw it. No, we have to be together. I don't want somebody to stay. So just try and do it fast, like I'm it also. All right. So for those of us that we were together yesterday, all right, we were talking about we talked about feel, we talked about stroke, talked about adding effects. I think we stopped at effects. So briefly we'll go through it. We have drop shadow effect. So what I'm going to do so that all the effects you can see them properly. So I'll explain why I put that image there in a few minutes. Now, for this element selected, which is a rectangle, a purple rectangle, for to add an effect, we have 6 different effects. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, actually. I talked about the inner shadow, then we stopped at the drop shadow. Now, drop shadow gives a realistic look to an object, right? Maybe like a form of 3D look. Because a plain object like this is 2D. You can only see it. You can only see the front, right? So if you add shadows to objects, it makes it look realistic. Now, these options here are the edit options for drop shadow. The edit options for your drop shadow. The first one we have the X positioning. And that X positioning, like I explained yesterday, is for horizontal positioning, right? You want to shift the shadow horizontally. When you take it towards the left, the shadow moves towards the left. When you take it towards the right, shadow moves towards the right. Now, if you are on this page and you have something like this, right? Once you hover your cursor, this is your cursor. Once you hover your cursor on the X position, you will see the cursor changes, right? So once it shows that sign, all you have to do is that's to increase or reduce. All you have to do is double click, then drag. Then if you want to do it the other way, double click, then drag. Or you can also, if your keyboard has the button, you can just click the button and drag. Same thing backwards, click the button and drag, right? If you hover on top and you see this sign and you just drag it like that, nothing's going to happen. It just means that you're using or moving the mouse. You get it? So that's for the X position. In the Y position, a similar thing, right? Then the next option is blur. You cannot have shadow without blurs. if you look at your shadow on the wall, it's not a clear reflection of you. The only clear reflection of you is a mirror, right? A shadow has blur to it. So this is the value to increase or reduce your blur. Then for basic shapes, it has spread. Spread is the wideness of the shadow. So if I increase the spread, see the shadow widens. If I reduce the spread, shadow reduces. Then color of shadow, I explained that also. Then this color by this side, right? You can see 25. This 25. Anybody can tell me what this 25 signifies? Transparency. Correct. Transparency, or in these design terms, opacity. Right. So the 25 is the value for the transparency of the shadow. If I increase it, now this is the color. Underneath this place, you can see 25 here. Right. If I decide to increase it, this is the point where you can reduce and increase your opacity. If I increase the opacity, meaning my shadow will be dark, very dark like this. If I reduce the opacity of my shadow reduces. All right. So the normal opacity for the default value for shadows are 25. Now, depending on what you are working on, you can decide to reduce or increase it. So let's move to layer blur. Talk to a little bit about layer blur yesterday. The blessing alpha.
I was helping for my safari. Was just trying.
All right, so we are layer blow. Now, if you select layer blow, so add the blow effect to the object. Then after layer blow, we have background blow. And what background blow does, right, is background blow works with opacity, right? Now, background blow is selected, but you can't really see anything happening until you reduce the opacity of the object. Now, if you reduce the opacity of the object, it will add a blur to the background layer. So whenever the layer is on top another object or another element, right, it will blur the element behind it. So this is what I'm talking about. If I reduce the opacity of this element, now the opacity is reduced to 20, and I have the background blur feature on, right? And I increase the background blur. No matter how I increase, you cannot see the effect here, but the effect is on the background. So whenever you take this element in front of another element, it blurs what will be at the back. That's what happens when you use the background blur. Then the next feature we have is noise feature. Now this noise effect, the noise effect helps to give a more realistic look to that element. Now, realistic look in the sense that when you look at pictures, right, or when you look at a paper, it is not just very plain white, right? There are dots, 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 dots. I don't know if you guys have noticed, right? Those are noise. Those it gives an object texture. It's what gives an object texture, right? So that effect, adding that effect on Figma is using the noise effect. So you can add, once you select noise, you see mono, you see dual, you see multi. Now this is single noise, double effect noise, multi effect noise. Now for this single effect noise, you can increase the Y. Now if you can see a sense of texture, right? You can increase the Y axis and the X as well. Then the density of the noise, you can reduce it or you can increase it. Also the color of the noise. Now, if you choose dual, right, you can increase the X and Y axis as well, the density. But in this case, dual is like a combination of two colors to form the noise. So it is currently, you can see black and white. If you check the difference between this has only black, and this has black and white noise. That's why this one looks brighter and it looks more cloudy. Then multi noise. You can increase the X and Y axis, the density, then the opacity. Now, multi noise is different colors just to make the thing look, yes, right? So it's just different colors to add texture to it. So that's the essence of noise. And you can use it can be used in several graphic design scenarios. In the process of our designing, right, we get to use it. Then the next one is texture, right? Texture gives a realistic feeling to the shape. Instead of it being a normal shape, it makes it look like a paper. That's what texture does, right? So if we increase you can see it's no longer smooth, right? It makes it look like it's maybe a stamp or a paper that's there, right? So the more you increase the effect of texture, the more it becomes more like this, right? So that's for texture. Then the last one will have glass. Now, glass effect also, just like the background blur effect, glass effect works when the opacity is reduced. So let's assume let's make this element. So this is a shape that we added a glass effect to. Now, you would not really notice anything till we put it in the front of another layer. Just now you to try your best and follow suit. If we're done, if I can sort that out, you go through it on your own. So now you can see the glass effect. It's a bit closer to background blur, right? But it looks more realistic. It looks like a glass is in front of layer, right? And you can increase and reduce the effects to make it look more realistic. Now you can see you have the refraction effect. You can increase or reduce this. You have the depth. You can increase the depth. You have the dispersion. You can increase or reduce the dispersion. You have the frost. That's how clear the glass is. So now you can see that it looks like there is a glass above this picture, right? That's the glass effect. And it can be used in several case scenarios in design as well. So all these things that I've done in this effect, right? I'll give you guys a little task that you have to do one or two of them. So I'll know how you are understanding me today. So afterwards, okay, that concludes all the effects, right? That Figma can function in. Then also the last part here on this right-hand side. The last part on this right-hand side, define exports. On this last part, define exports. Now, export is to take whatever you have designed on your Figma page, so bring it out and save it in your laptop or whatever, right? So if I have, let's say I have this guy's picture in this frame, right? And I select the frame I want to export. By the time I click on export, you'll see different export options. First of all, you see the export size. This is the export size, right? Usually, it's the default is 1x. That's just the way it is to export it. Now, if you choose 2x, 1.523, it means it will expand it when you export it, right? Then also the format. You can export in PNG. Now, PNG format is mainly for elements without backgrounds, right? It's mainly for elements without backgrounds or elements you want to use as you want to use in a design, basically. Then JPEG. JPEG is the normal format everybody knows. JPEG is the format that your pictures are saved in, right? JPEG is the normal picture format. Then SVG. SVG is vector graphics, right? It's a format that can be editable, right? Unlike PNG, unlike JPEG, SVG can be editable. So if I export on SVG, right, I can send my SVG file to David, and he will be able to edit on his own Figma. That's exporting in SVG. Then the last one is PDF. PDF is just a plain document